Our story kicks off in the Shartika Empire, specifically in the far-off province of Setia. Within this province, there's a massive building known as the Cardia Academy. Here, we see tons of students walking around while white doves fly through the sky. In the Academy's arena, two guys are facing off with wooden swords. In the audience, the girls are desperately cheering for a fighter named Jiran. However, a guy next to them complains that girls only care about looks. Just then, we see the violet eyes of our main character. This is Jaron Haynes, one of the most popular and skilled students in the entire academy. Because of his looks, the female fans go wild every time Jaron Haynes steps into the scene. On the other side is his opponent, Wyatt Carter, who doesn't look too happy about all the screaming. Seeing this, he warns that he's not gonna go easy and charges full force at our hero. Jaron, however, dodges Wyatt's attack with impressive agility and no trouble at all. One of the students in the stands recognizes the skill as the Windbird's step. Right after, the MC preps a counterattack using the famous Glimmering Blade. Realizing Jaron's technique, the guy figures he might be in deep trouble. With a determined look, Wyatt gets ready to turn the tables and fight with everything he's got. Just like that, an aura of power starts flowing from the guy's body, enveloping the whole arena. A spectator notices the shift and yells that Wyatt is using his core to fight for real. From there, this energy transforms into the image of a massive level 5 silver bear. Wyatt then unleashes a powerful attack, making his sword glow as it clashes against our main character. Seeing this, the girls in the crowd scream desperately for Jaron to be careful. Due to the force of the impact, our hero gets dragged back, leaving marks on the arena floor. Even with his sword broken, Jaron smiles and admits defeat, declaring Wyatt the winner. In the crowd, some guys comment that Jaron's skills don't live up to his good looks. A girl, however, defends him, saying he would have won if he wasn't null attribute. The rumors then start to spread that the MC's talent is useless because he doesn't have an attribute. On top of that, they mention that Jaron's parents were famous generals but disappeared 3 years ago. Because of this, his reputation as the young lord of Roland Castle won't last much longer. Amidst all the whispering, a hand is placed on our hero's shoulder. It's Wyatt, asking if he's okay and joking that he shouldn't be sulking just because he lost. Our MC replies that he's not upset, since Wyatt fought fair and square. Watching the scene, Professor Hanson Miller feels bad for the guy, thinking he's just unlucky. He explains that Jaron has a hard time cultivating ether because he was born with a null attribute core. It's then revealed that human cultivation is based on either elemental or beast-type cores. The problem for our hero, though, is that his core awakened without any type at all, which is an extremely rare case. After several tests, the Academy's administration concluded the problem was his constitution. With that, the Master of Class 1 demoted Jaron to Class 2 without a second thought. At this rate, it's going to be tough for the guy to advance to the higher academy of St. Stella. We then see Jaron walking away from the arena while the other students just watch from a distance. A moment later, he continues on his way alone, leaving the crowd behind. Jaron then laments having a null attribute core, thinking his future looks pretty bleak. It's explained that upon reaching high power levels, a second and even a third core can appear. He remembers that at the start of his cultivation, he was just a simple decastigma, but even back then, his body already had 3 cores at the same time. He then starts to panic about having 3 null attribute cores and wonders how he's ever going to cultivate. Wyatt then asks if there's any sign that his core problem has been resolved, and he just nods. Just then, Professor Hanson announces that the entrance exam for the higher academy begins next month. The master then orders everyone to give it their all and focus on their cultivation. Jaron says he's going to practice his skills since he saw his weak points during the fight. Wyatt just quietly watches his friend walk away, looking a bit thoughtful. With a slight smile on his face, the MC moves forward, looking pretty determined. He walks alone toward the sunset, leaving the crowd behind him. On the way, some students stop and just stare at our hero as he passes by. Soon after, he arrives at a place known as the Cardia Academy's Wall of Honor. Even though it's a common sight, a crowd always gathers there at this time to see the projection. Our MC is there too, but only to watch one specific person. Suddenly, a blonde girl appears in the projection, being called the Diamond of the Academy. This is Arianatis, one of the most famous and powerful students in the entire empire. She's a genius who shocked everyone by enrolling with a level 9 light core. Because of this, she's the only one in a century to enjoy so much glory and popularity. Meanwhile, in the crowd, people are whispering about our main character's relationship. He thinks about the looks of envy and contempt, but isn't fazed because he knows why. It's revealed that Arya was his parents' most prized disciple and was promised to him in marriage. And so, our hero confirms that Arya Natis is in fact his fiancée. He remembers meeting her when he was 3, after his parents brought her back from a trip. Since she was older and more talented, she constantly tormented him, making his days a nightmare. One day, his drunk father joked about the engagement, and Arya showed up with a signed contract. Because of this, his mom blew a gasket, and our MC got caught in the middle of the mess. His mom tried to return the contract and make the girl forget all about it, but she refused. Faced with Arya's stubborn refusal, his parents had no choice but to accept the arrangement. Years later, Arya revealed the engagement to a suitor, and it caused chaos in the province. Our MC cries, blaming his dad and thinking he'd be taken out if he wasn't at the academy. Suddenly, a girl named Heiren interrupts him, asking why he comes here every day. Right after, she asks when he's going to call off the engagement, which gets Jiran annoyed. Heiren warns him that a lot of people want to deal with him if he doesn't break things off with Arya. With a smirk, our main character ironically asks who those people might be. Heiren then reveals that Bira from the Christie family wants to see him in 2 days and told him to make the reservation. Our hero gets angry, remembering that Bira always used to pick on him, and now she wants him to set everything up. Seeing his reaction, the girl reminds him that his family isn't on top anymore, and nobody respects him. The guy nods, admitting she's not wrong and that they only spared him because of his parents. As he walks away, Heiren yells for him to call off the engagement because it's just not right. Suddenly, Jiran stops and notices that everyone around him is frozen, staring at something. Next to him, Heiren is also speechless, stammering as she sees the scene unfolding. Our MC then takes a closer look at what's happening, looking pretty surprised himself. A luxurious carriage pulled by 4 lion horses stops right in front of the stairs. On the side of the vehicle, you can see the Roland Castle family crest carved into the wood. Stepping out of the carriage is none other than Arya, leaving everyone around completely stunned. The guy asks when she got back, and the girl says she came to pick him up for her birthday. Jiran agrees to go with her, just to escape the sharp glares from the crowd. However, before he can move, Arya stops him with a serious look and tells him to wait. Arya then turns to the other girl and asks if her name is Heiren, confirming her identity. The girl gets all giddy and surprised, not expecting her upperclassman to remember her. With a dark look, Arya warns her to stop bothering Jiran if she wants her brother to stay safe. Faced with the threat, Heiren does a complete 180 and declares her love for her upperclassman, saying how amazing she is. With the situation handled, the luxurious carriage starts to move, leaving the place behind. Inside the vehicle, our MC and Arya sit across from each other in complete silence. The girl breaks the ice and apologizes for putting him in an awkward situation back there. Our hero, however, doesn't seem convinced at all and questions how sincere her apology really is. With a serious look, Jiran says that if she really wants to apologize, she should call off the engagement. Arya is surprised by the request and asks if he's afraid of the trouble the engagement might cause. The guy explains that he doesn't want to ruin her life and reminds her how this whole thing started because of his dad. He remembers that whenever his dad said something weird, they would both end up getting in trouble. His fiancée, however, replies that it's fine, because she won't fall in love with anyone else. Jiran gets furious and asks why she's using him as a tool to repay a debt to his parents. Hearing his words, the girl just stares at him in silence with a very thoughtful expression. Arya then admits that he's right and that she really didn't consider his opinion on the matter. With that, our MC gets his hopes up and suggests they finally call off the engagement. The girl, however, cuts him off and reminds him of her family's rules about settling conflicts with duels. The guy gets desperate, saying a duel wouldn't make any sense since he's at a much lower level. It's explained that the power hierarchy starts at Stigma and goes up to King, passing through Master and General. Jiran Haynes insists that she has no feelings for him and asks what the point of the engagement is. While sipping her tea, the girl admits that's true, but at least she doesn't feel contempt for him. Our MC replies that even so, there's no need to use him to thank his parents. So he proposes that they both think realistically and give each other a chance. The word chance echoes in Arya's mind as she stares at him with a very intrigued look. Jiran suggests he'll take care of Roland Castle for her, and when she's ready to take over, they'll exchange the document. The girl's hand taps lightly on the table, creating a sound that breaks the room's silence. The tapping continues to echo as the two of them remain seated across from each other in the room. Suddenly, the young woman reaches out and stops his finger from tapping on the table. Faced with this unexpected move, our hero falls silent, looking a little tense. In a calm voice, Arya breaks the silence in the room and says Jiran Haynes' name. Right after, she looks at him seriously and asks if he hates her that much. Our MC replies that she's underestimating her own charm and that it would be a lie to say he dislikes her. However, he makes it clear that the real problem is not wanting to get married like this. Hearing his answer, an aura of power surrounds Arya, and she says he's gotten pretty talkative all of a sudden. Startled by her reaction, Jeron tells her to calm down, saying it's better to talk things out. Arya then nods in agreement and proposes a deal to return the document when he inherits the castle. Our hero is silent for a moment, seeming to process the offer she just made. A bright light flashes as the idea of the deal echoes in the guy's mind. The girl comments that he seems like a different person and warns him that if she gives back the document, there won't be another chance. Hearing her warning, our main character's hand slams down on the table, showing his determination. He confirms he has no regrets and will make sure she hands the document over to him directly. Upon hearing Jeron's firm words, a faint smile forms on Arya's lips. Right after, she simply tells him to sit down, and our hero obeys, returning to his chair. Our MC is totally confused by the girl's sudden change in attitude. Arya teases him, saying it's a lot of big talk for someone with no skills, but she'll give him a chance for his courage. With that, she challenges him to pass the St. Stello Academy entrance exam, and if he fails, she'll forget the whole thing. Our main character accepts the challenge on the spot and tells her to just watch what happens next. A slight smile then forms on Arya's face as the sunlight reflects off the carriage window. Jeron Haynes asks if they aren't going home, but she explains they're going to pick up an item his parents left. It's revealed that there are two major neutral powers in the Empire, St. Stello Academy and the Golden Dragon Commerce. As such, these two factions are untouchable, and the Golden Dragon operates like a massive auction house. Upon arriving, our hero is blown away by how grand the building is, looking totally shocked. Looking at the scene, he even thinks his own castle looks pretty plain compared to this place. An employee then approaches and offers to escort the two of them inside the establishment. Suddenly, a silhouette appears in the background, wondering who the visitors who just arrived could be. This is Rockefeller, the branch manager, who recognizes the young Lord and Miss Arya, and greets them. Once inside, the girl introduces the manager to our MC, who just observes him in silence. Arya informs him they've come to retrieve the item, and Rockefeller asks them to follow him deeper into the building. A moment later, a panel on the wall lights up, indicating a secret mechanism has been activated. Rockefeller then leads them down a long hallway toward a giant vault at the end of the room. To open the door, the manager places his hand on a wall scanner, which grants them passage. He explains that the item left by the Haynes family can only be opened with our main character's blood. Our hero feels that this mysterious object is going to be important enough to change his entire future. He then brings his hand closer to the cube, getting ready to finally activate it and see what happens. A moment later, a drop of his blood falls onto the device, and a bright blue light emanates from the cube. Right before his eyes, the object transforms into a huge blue sphere, leaving the guy stunned. Arya tells him to put it away for now, as his parents said to only open it when he turned 17. Our main character, however, holds the sphere tightly, looking very determined about his decision. The girl is confused by his expression and doesn't quite get what's going on in his head. Jeron says that with this, he can finally change his destiny and will be able to call off the engagement for good. His fiancée then jokes and asks if, after all this time, he's itching for another beating. Their argument is cut short as they continue on their way through the building's main hall. Rockefeller takes the opportunity to ask if he can introduce his niece Grace to them. He explains that the girl also studies at Cardia Academy and insisted on meeting the famous Arya. Just then, a blue-haired girl appears, and our MC is shocked to see who it is. He recognizes her instantly, remembering this particular young woman and looking a little nervous. The girl introduces herself as Grace and greets her upperclassmen, leaving Jeron even more surprised. Arya then asks if she knows the guy, since they both attend the same cultivation academy. Grace explains that he taught her a skill once and that she's very grateful, but he's been avoiding her. Our main character frantically denies everything, saying it's just because of the class change. With a sigh of relief, Jeron feels like that tense conversation just took 10 years off his life. With the introductions over, Arya says goodbye to the manager, and they get ready to finally leave. Rockefeller, however, stops her and asks about a big change that's about to happen at Roland Castle. Jeron's fiancée just comments that news travels fast, without giving away many details. The manager expresses his sympathy but offers to help if they need anything in the future. As the two walk away, he remembers his company's motto, "Peace brings fortune." A moment later, the manager clears his throat with a serious look, seeming a bit bothered by the situation. He turns to his niece and asks her point blank if she has feelings for our hero. Grace denies it immediately, saying she just feels sorry for him because he'd be her biggest rival if it weren't for his attribute. Rockefeller reminds her that Geron already has a fiancé and that she can have her pick of any genius in the Empire. After that, our MC and Arya finally arrive at the old Roland Castle mansion. The girl comments that the place is a lot emptier, and Geron explains that the headquarters moved to the capital. Just then, the butler, Rias Rock, appears and greets Miss Arya with great respect. The young woman greets him back as they continue on their way inside the mansion. Soon after, Arya introduces her assistant, Catherine Morgan, who was helping with business in the capital. The woman has an elegant and sophisticated look that catches everyone's attention. With a smile, Catherine approaches and politely greets the young master. Our main character smiles back and thanks her for all the hard work she's been doing lately. Arya then announces that Catherine will be managing the business in the province and reporting directly to him. Hearing the sudden news, our hero is completely confused by her decision. Because of this, he asks why she would send her right-hand woman to Setia out of the blue. His fiancée explains that there are rumors about the castle, but she didn't tell him before to avoid worrying him. With that, it's revealed that Roland Castle began to weaken when his parents disappeared. This happened because his parents, Frederick and Eliza Haynes, were generals of great power and prestige. However, Roland's foundation was always weaker, and now without his parents, it's like a candle in the wind. With the castle's power dwindling, other factions took advantage, so Arya shut down businesses to buy time. Our MC then asks if their power wasn't stabilizing despite the recent decline. The girl, however, reveals that the external pressure has lessened, but the real crisis is now coming from within the castle. Hearing this revelation, Geron Haynes immediately figures the whole problem is Senior Bishop Beck's fault. Catherine is surprised by the guy's response, while Arya just watches everything in silence. He then explains that the bishop is the only one in the castle who can rival his fiancée's power. It's revealed that Beck was taken in by his parents and became their top disciple, gaining a lot of power. Arya says that he now makes decisions on his own and has won the support of many masters in the castle. Realizing how complicated the situation is, our MC says she must be going through a tough time. The girl, however, brushes it off and reminds him he'll be living there forever, so it's no big deal. The guy gets all flustered and complains that she's bringing that up again in front of everyone. She continues, saying Beck is using this chance to build his own faction and seems to have another power backing him. Faced with this betrayal, our hero comments that his parents ended up raising a real tiger cub. Because of this, Arya decided to have a confrontation with the bishop tomorrow, but the outcome could split the castle. Our main character apologizes to the girl, saying he can't be of any help right now. Arya, however, tells him not to worry about any of that and that everything will be fine. As she walks away, our hero promises that he'll hand over the entire castle to her. He knows he needs to build his own strength, because that's the only way he can solve all these problems. Later that night, the moon illuminates the enormous Roland Castle, creating a beautiful scene. In his room, Geron holds the blue sphere and wonders what his parents left for him. Our hero then tries to figure out how to open the mysterious object in his hands. Suddenly, the artifact starts to glow intensely, reacting to his touch in an unexpected way. A drop of blue liquid falls from the object, creating ripples in a dark, mysterious space. From there, a bright light explodes, and a strange figure emerges, leaving Geron completely startled. A moment later, he sees the silhouettes of his parents and is shocked to recognize them there. His parents, Frederick and Eliza, appear and ask if he's turned 17 yet and gotten a girlfriend. With tears in his eyes, the guy says that looks don't matter if you don't have any skills. His father's hologram then asks if he's blaming himself for not having any talent for fighting. His mother finishes the question, wanting to know if it's because of his null attribute core. His mom reveals that they already knew everything, including about the 3 cores he had. Our MC is stunned and asks if that's why they disappeared and where they are now. Frederick cuts him off and reveals that the null attribute core is actually the strongest in the world. The guy doesn't really believe it and says that kind of pep talk doesn't work on him anymore. His father explains that even though it can't absorb nature's aura, there's a solution. Right after, Eliza suggests that since the core is empty, he can simply fill it. Geron gets annoyed and says he's already tried everything but has always failed. His mother explains that normal methods don't work and that they would never leave him hanging. With that, a bright light shines, and they reveal they found a way to fill his core. Hearing that, our main character's eyes go wide, and he's left speechless. They tell him they searched through countless ancient books, over and over, until they found a solution. From there, they found the grimoire of core forging, and that being born this way isn't a bad thing. It's explained that he can have two types, a primary and a secondary, based on his own will. Our hero gets excited and imagines fusing fire with lightning, creating immense destructive power. Frederick, however, warns him that it's not all sunshine and roses, and the starting level won't be higher than level 4. Jaron Haynes thinks level 4 is pretty low and compares it to Arya's light core. His mother, however, tells him not to get discouraged, because there are ways to raise the core's level. It's revealed that there are items that can increase a core's level by 1 or 2 at most. Eliza asks if he was really expecting there to be a limit to raising the level with items. His dad complains that she said everything and left nothing for him, and Eliza tells him to be quiet. Our MC finds it funny and thinks that Arya's personality is just like his mom's. Eliza explains that her son's null core is an exception, and because it's empty, it can contain anything. The guy is surprised and repeats the words, "a strong constitution," looking completely shocked. His parents tell him they used his blood to create his first core inside that crystal. With this, our hero gets super excited and says he's ready to start a bright future. Frederick, however, stops him and says there's one last thing he needs to know first. He reveals that accepting the core won't be easy and will consume a massive amount of his blood. On top of that, the process will drain his life force, and he'll only have 5 years unless he becomes a Grand General. Given the situation, he has to choose between being a rich commoner or risking his life to fight. To decide, he just has to turn off the crystal or place his hand inside it to accept the challenge. His parents assure him that no matter what choice he makes, they will always support him. Our main character then finds himself facing an impossible decision: live as a weakling or pass away young. He calculates that he'd have to become a Grand General by age 22, something no one has ever done. On one hand, he could live comfortably with the castle his parents left him, but on the other, he would have to fight with all his might for a slim chance of survival. Faced with this choice, the guy wonders which path he should really take. If he stays as he is, catching up to Arya would be a practically impossible task for him. Jaron knows that with his current power, that's a goal he could never reach. However, now a single ray of hope has finally appeared on his dark path. With a determined smile, he realizes he can't just give up on this opportunity. He then reveals to his parents that he's actually a person full of ambition and dreams. His goal isn't just to catch up to Arya, but to surpass her, and even his own parents. And so, he accepts the challenge of becoming a Grand General in 5 years without hesitation. From that point on, our main character places his hand in the crystal to finally seal his decision. In that instant, an intense blue light explodes from the object, lighting up the entire room. Our MC is shocked by the light and wonders what that thing in front of him is. Before him are the grimoire of forging and the core his parents created to change his destiny. His parents appear again and comment that in the end, he chose to follow this path. Frederick says he's proud of his son's choice because he knew he wouldn't hesitate out of fear. With tears in her eyes, Eliza agrees and says she'll explain the next steps to him. And so it's revealed that the core is level 4, with water as the primary and light as the secondary. Our main character is surprised to hear the word water and already considers changing his whole plan. His parents then ask if he's by any chance underestimating the element of water. They explain that water can heal the wounds from the process, and its combination with light is powerful. The guy is confused by the explanation and asks if there's any other reason for that choice. Frederick reveals the other reason is that they hope their son will become a core master. That way, he'll have both elements, and it could even serve as a job if he ever blows all his cash. They warn him that the grimoire for the Third Awakening is in the capital, and he'll have to find it himself. His parents say they believe he can do it in 5 years and tell him not to worry. Finally, they give him one last warning, not to come looking for them until he becomes a Grand General. With his face full of determination, our main character thanks his parents for everything they've done for him. He promises that the next time they meet, they'll be surprised by how much he's changed. From that day on, Jaron Haynes finally becomes a person with a defined attribute. Right after, the guy's vision gets blurry, and he collapses onto his bedroom floor. From outside, a female voice asks if the young master is okay, sounding concerned. Jaron recognizes the voice as Catherine's and wonders why his body feels so strange. Looking at his hand, he realizes he has no strength in his arms or legs. He coughs and says he just overslept, but notices his voice is hoarse and different. Catherine informs him that the 9 masters of the castle have arrived and Arya asked him to get ready. Our hero nods, and the assistant says her goodbyes, saying she'll go on ahead. Alone, the guy realizes he has absolutely no energy, feeling like an old man on his last legs. When he looks in the mirror, he sees his hair has turned white and wonders if he really only has 5 years left. Even though he's anxious about the situation, he can't resist a joke, thinking that at least he looks cooler now. Suddenly, Jaron Haynes feels a strange sensation running through his tired body. A gentle energy begins to heal his exhausted body, and he realizes the core has changed everything. Our main character thinks that the null core problem is finally solved, and now it's going to become his special power. With that in mind, he places his hands on the hall doors, bracing himself for what's to come. As he opens the doors, a bright light illuminates his face, and he declares he's going to live a new life. Meanwhile, in the old Roland Castle mansion, his fiancée Arya waits for him in one of the chairs. In the main hall, the masters are divided according to their political loyalties. One of them, Bishop Beck, asks the girl how much longer they're going to have to wait. He then continues, taunting her by saying that Jaron was never late for a meeting like this before. Arya doesn't like the comment and replies that his patience didn't seem so short in the past. Beck suggests they start the meeting without our hero, since everyone knows his situation. The bishop then asks if anyone objects to starting the meeting without the young master present. Suddenly, a voice cuts in, commenting that the bishop has gotten pretty bold in recent years. Right after, our main character appears at the door, and everyone stands up to greet him. Beck gets a look of pure rage on his face when he sees his plans have been foiled. Arya is shocked by the change and wonders why Jaron's hair suddenly turned white. Our hero then faces the bishop and says that he's become a completely different person. With a smirk, Beck asks why the guy's skin is so pale and his hair has turned white. With everyone in shock, he adds that our hero looks like someone whose days are numbered. Worried about the situation, Arya stares at the guy with a serious look and calls him senior. The bishop then fakes an apology, saying his mouth acted recklessly. Our main character, however, replies that it's not like he's only been seeing his true colors for a day or two. Beck just lets out a mocking laugh, as if he couldn't care less about what the guy just said. In his thoughts, the bishop reveals that if it weren't for Arya, he would have taken over a long time ago. From there, he suggests that since the young master is here, they can finally start the meeting. Arya takes the lead and asks the bishop to explain why the 3 sectors he manages haven't paid up. He makes the excuse that there was a fire at the warehouses, and that's why there's no money to pay. With a furious look, our hero's fiancé asks if he really calls that an excuse. The bishop says it might sound like an excuse, but there's nothing he can do about the situation. And so he declares that the 3 sectors under his command will not pay any tribute in the future. One of the masters, named Baron, stands up and asks if he intends to bring down Roland Castle. With a wicked smile, Beck says he can get the money, but first, he needs a promise from Jaron. With a serious look, our main character faces the bishop and asks what he wants in return. Beck's eye glints with malice as he prepares his answer for the young master. With a smirk, the bishop leans forward and begins to speak slowly. He then reveals that his only demand is for Jaron to call off the engagement with Arya. Our main character is silent for a moment, looking completely shocked by the request. Suddenly, a golden aura of power explodes, and Arya steps in front of her fiancé. With her light sword in hand, the girl charges full force at the traitorous bishop. Beck just watches the attack with a mocking smile, not seeming worried in the slightest. A moment later, the 2 powers collide, creating an intense explosion of light in the hall. The impact of the collision is so strong that it throws them both back with incredible force. Arya then asks if his metal core leveled up to 7 by stealing the tributes. The bishop admits that her light core lives up to the hype and that she can actually fight him. With a furious look, the girl warns him to take back what he said if he doesn't want trouble. Beck ignores the threat and says that Jaron doesn't deserve the castle, let alone Arya. Our hero asks if he should just give up everything, and what he'll do when his parents return. With a mocking smile, Beck says the guy is still living in a fantasy about his parents. Right after, with a crazed look in his eye, he reveals that our hero's parents are never coming back. He continues, saying that Jaron has no skills, no future, and is in a worse position than he is. One of the masters wonders why the bishop is being so hostile to the kind-hearted young man. Our main character doesn't get it, and asks why he feels more resentment than gratitude. Hearing the question, the bishop falls completely silent, seeming to process the guy's words. Beck reveals that he never felt like a true disciple and that his hope turned to disappointment. Jaron Haynes says his parents' choice was the right one, because he would have shown his betrayal sooner. The bishop lets out a laugh and warns that great ambition always comes with a great price. With a determined look, our hero says he'll be throwing those exact same words back at the bishop. Beck then declares that negotiations are over and from now on, his sectors will only answer to him. As Arya prepares to fight, Beck asks if anyone else there besides her can face him. Master Baron thinks that he can't compete, as the bishop is on a much higher level than him. Beck says he wants what's best for the castle and asks for Arya's help, but calls Geron greedy. Finally, he shows a green plaque with the name Ryan on it and says he won't give up on his plans. Master Baron is shocked and recognizes the pass as belonging to Elder Ryan, one of the 3 Elder Masters. It's revealed that they are all Sky Generals and don't get involved in the castle's internal affairs. Beck warns that he won't split the castle and that he's going to take it all for himself, once and for all. The other masters are shocked by the declaration and call him a traitor without a second thought. As he walks away, the bishop turns to Geron and tells him to enjoy his last year of life. With a wicked smile, he warns that as soon as the castle ceremony is held, Roland Castle will have nothing more to do with our main character, who just stares at him in silence. After the bishop left, everyone in the hall was extremely worried about the situation. And so, Arya kept her composure and comforted the 6 masters before sending them away. Alone in the enormous hall, our main character throws himself onto the throne, looking completely exhausted. With his hand on his face, he seems to be thinking about all the chaos that just went down. Suddenly, the sound of someone's footsteps approaches him, breaking the silence of the place. It's Arya, who stops in front of the throne and calls Geron's name in a very calm voice. The girl says that he pretends not to care, but she knows that deep down he's furious. Our hero agrees, and the girl praises him for holding back and not doing anything reckless. Our main character admits that if he could have, he would have settled things with the bishop right then and there. Arya sits down next to him and says that life isn't always easy, and that patience is a skill. The guy smiles and comments that she must have gone through a tough time these past 2 years. The girl then tells him not to worry about the words Bishop Beck said earlier. With a determined look, she guarantees that even if it takes a while, she'll deal with him herself. She promises to hand the castle over to him, but reminds him that the focus right now is next month's exam. His fiancée warns him that if he doesn't get into St. Stella, all promises are off. In response, our main character just holds out his hand and asks her to hold it for a second. The girl is silent for a moment, looking a little confused by the unexpected request. A moment later, Geron Haynes takes her hand with a very confident smile on his face. In that instant, an intense blue light explodes, and a mysterious energy envelops the 2 of them in the hall. With wide eyes, his fiancée can't believe what she's feeling at that moment. She asks if that's a water core, and is amazed that he finally has a core type. From there, Arya immediately figures he got that power from the item his parents left behind. With a slight smile on his face, our hero confirms that her suspicion is totally correct. With a huge smile on her face, Arya breathes a sigh of relief and says this is the best news of the day. Geron then asks what she thought about what the bishop said, and she replies that his parents are fine. With a faint smile, our main character agrees with his fiancée's opinion about his parents. Arya says she's heading back to the capital tomorrow and hopes to see him at St. Stella in the future. Right after, our hero watches his fiancée walk away in silence, looking very thoughtful. He then asks the butler, Rierus Rock, for a 1-week leave from the academy so he can rest. After that, he asks Catherine to buy an item called Grade 4 Iridos Aqua for him. The woman is confused by the request and asks how many vials he needs for his plans. With a mischievous grin on his face, our main character replies that for now, he just wants 50. Catherine repeats the order out loud, looking shocked by the enormous quantity he asked for. Seeing her surprise, the guy just confirms the order with a calm nod. She calculates that it costs 50,000 gold, more than Roland Castle's annual profit. It's revealed that the item purifies the core of impurities and prevents it from being permanently blocked. Even though she finds it strange, she agrees, since Arya told her to obey all of the young master's orders. He thanks her for the help, and she wonders if the guy is aware of the castle's situation in the province. Our main character then heads to the old Roland Castle mansion in search of knowledge. With his new core, he decides to look for an ether grimoire that's perfect for his cultivation. The castle library housed many rare books and grimoires collected by the Haynes family. Although the headquarters had moved to the capital, many volumes still remained in the old mansion. Arriving there, the librarian approaches and greets the young master with a smile on his face. The man asks which book he's looking for since it's been a while since the guy visited the place. Geron Haynes asks to see all the ether grimoires suitable for a level 4 cultivator. The librarian finds the request odd, since the young master usually only read about skills. Even though he's confused by the change, he asks our main character to wait a moment and goes to get the books. A moment later, the man returns and says he's brought all the requested volumes. He informs him that there are 25 introductory volumes and 6 general volumes for the guy to choose from. Our hero gets super excited and thinks that today he's going to find the perfect cultivation method for him. It's explained that master-level grimoires are rare and only powerful factions possess them. He wonders how his parents managed to leave behind 2 grand general-level volumes. After careful consideration, Jaron Haynes finally selects 3 volumes for his final choice. Our main character looks thoughtful, wondering which of the 3 grimoires he should choose. From there, he chooses the Thalassa method, which controls ether through meditation. With the grimoire in hand, our hero heads to the mansion's underground training room. He comments that it's the first time he's been to this place to train his cultivation. Jaron remembers that only his parents and Arya used to use this room for cultivation. And so, he places his hand on the panel, and a huge door opens in front of him. Our main character is completely shocked by the scene that reveals itself before him. Before his eyes appears a gigantic hall with enormous pillars of pure gold. He discovers that the place is made of aster gold, a material that absorbs natural auras. Just by being there, a dense aura surrounds him, and he feels his cultivation will be efficient. With that in mind, our hero walks toward the center of the room to begin his training. He promises to give it his all so he can repay all of his parents' efforts. From there, Jaron imagines the vastness of the ocean and tries to feel the aura around him. A moment later, energy from all directions begins to flow into his body. The water and light aura circulates through his body and gathers in his blue core to strengthen it. From there, the energy transforms into his ether, and he feels that he's reached the triple stigma level. With his whole body aching, our hero decides it's best to stop training for the day. He knows the exam is next month and he needs to level up if he wants to get into St. Stella. Suddenly, a servant informs him that Catherine has brought the items he requested straight to his room. Our main character is surprised by how fast the woman was, as he thought it would take another day. In his room, he stares at the many vials and recognizes the item as the famous Iridos Aqua. This is an essential cultivation item created only by masters with water and light cores. The version he ordered is the Grade 4 Blue Aqua, with an absorption rate of 58%. The problem is that using it too quickly builds up impurities and can even shut down the user's core. Since he has a null attribute, our hero isn't worried and decides to absorb 50 vials at once. After using half of them, he realizes the potion's effect is much better than he was expecting. His ether has gotten much stronger, and he calculates that with another 100 vials, he could reach level 5. He panics when he calculates that he'll spend 200,000 gold just to reach that level. Our main character then realizes his new core is a total money pit, and he's going to go broke. For the next 2 days, he trains non-stop and finally manages to reach the quad stigma level. With the intense training, our main character ends up using all the potions he had bought. Meanwhile, at the old Roland Castle mansion, Catherine is in an important meeting. Before her advisors, the woman calls one of her managers named Kruger over for a chat. She questions him about the Setia province's income, which has dropped drastically that year. The manager explains that 3 of his merchant groups are under enormous internal pressure. Hearing the news, Catherine is silent for a moment, with a very serious expression. And so, she decides to shut down the problematic groups until the castle's situation stabilizes. With the decision made, the man and his companions leave the hall in complete silence. Suddenly, the sound of a knock on the door breaks the silence of the huge place. Catherine then dismisses her advisors and tells them to get back to work immediately. A moment later, she sees our hero and asks what he's doing there at that moment. Jaron Haynes replies that he needs a favor, and the woman tells him to go ahead with his request. With an awkward smile, he asks her to buy another 100 vials of Iridos Aqua. Following the request, an awkward silence fills the hall, making everything feel very strange. The assistant is shocked and repeats the request, unable to believe what she just heard from the guy. Seeing the woman's reaction, our main character freezes up in fear. With a trembling voice, Catherine yells the young master's name, seeming very nervous. She then slams her hand on the table and asks if he's trying to get her to lose her job. Our hero is confused and asks why she's saying that since everyone admires her, the monster Tov nars her robuls, why is his her role place. The woman explains that he hasn't done anything wrong but asks if he knows about the castle's situation. And so she reminds him that 100 vials of that potion is not a small amount of money. With a serious look, the assistant asks if he has by any chance been threatened by someone. Jaron Haynes denies it immediately and says he asked for the items because he really wants to use them for training. Catherine then demands an explanation, and our main character decides to tell her the whole truth. He reveals that he gained a core thanks to a secret method his parents left for him. The woman is in shock and repeats the words, "secret method," not believing what she's heard. With a determined smile, she says if that's the case, she'll get the items no matter what. Our main character feels a bit awkward and wonders if he ended up asking for too much from her. The assistant admits that finances are tight, but she'll figure something out. With a confident look, she promises to handle everything and asks the young master to trust her. With a smile, our main character thanks her for the help, and she tells him not to worry about a thing. Right after, the guy turns and starts to walk away from the hall in complete silence. Catherine watches him and thinks that now he's becoming more suitable for Miss Aria. For the rest of the week, our hero dedicates himself to training to increase his power level. On the last day, he reaches pentastigma, and his water core levels up to 5. From there, a few days pass, and the scene shifts back to the famous Cardia Academy. There, students are gossiping about Jiran's disappearance and his new sudden white hair. Our main character just ignores the rumors and continues on his way through the academy. Suddenly, he stops and sees his teacher Hanson Miller watching him from a distance in the courtyard. The master approaches and comments that the guy finally decided to come back to class. With a serious look, Hanson says he knows about the stress, but that's no reason to give up. Our hero is confused by the accusation and tries to explain that he hasn't given up on anything. The professor gets furious and scolds him for skipping a whole week of training. Feeling awkward, the guy just apologizes and promises he won't do it again. With the situation resolved, the master tells him to go inside and get ready for the next class. Suddenly, Wyatt comes over and asks what happened to our main character's hair. With a smirk, Jaron Haynes jokes that he dyed his hair gray because it's the new trend. Hanson Miller then tells everyone that the entrance exam is coming up and to do their best. A student announces that Wyatt and Ellie have reached the Hexa Stigma level, and Wyatt says thanks. Meanwhile, a blue-haired girl just watches the scene, looking very thoughtful. A moment later, the professor finally dismisses the class, and the day's lesson ends. Wyatt then turns and asks our hero to explain the skill that was taught in class. With a surprised look, Jaron Haynes falls silent, seeming a bit tense about the question. Our main character notices Wyatt's bruised face and asks what happened to him. The guy then reveals with a furious look that it's all some guy named Bay's fault. From there, it's explained that our hero's current level in the power hierarchy is pentastigma. Wyatt says that Bay was bullying students, so he taught him a lesson. Other students comment that Bay was acting strangely and that Wyatt did the right thing. Wyatt then asks if Bay was after Jaron too, because it seemed like he was targeting him. Our main character then remembers what Hayron said and that Bay wanted him to pay for a meal. With a smile, Jaron Haynes apologizes to Wyatt, saying he got beat up because of him. His friend says it was nothing but warns him that Bay is going to pick another fight in the afternoon class. Wyatt tells him to keep his head down and says that if all goes well, he might even reach the heptastigma level. Our main character thinks that he can't let his friend take the blame for a problem that's his. Later, in Ether class, they go to a forest north of the academy where there's a giant tree. It's explained that the tree's leaves are huge and sturdy enough for students to cultivate on. The leaves have different levels, and the chance of finding a gold one is only 10%. Turns out, only 10 gold leaves were given to Class 2, and the rest went to Class 1. Our hero regrets giving up the gold leaf he found and decides to cultivate on a silver one instead. As he prepares to climb up, 2 girls watch him from a distance, looking very attentive. One of them comments that Jaron was gone for a week and asks if he was scared of Bay. The other girl replies that our main character's handsome face is wasted on him. The first girl asks if she didn't like him when he was in Class 1, and the other just changes the subject. Her friend gets annoyed with the response and thinks that people only care about looks. Suddenly, a deep voice yells Jaron Haynes' name, and someone approaches from behind. Bay Christie from the Christie family shows up and asks if our main character has dropped out of the academy. Jaron Haynes replies that he was dumb to wait and asks why he would pay for his meal. With a furious look, the blonde guy tells our hero to apologize, or he'll regret it. Faced with the threat, Jaron just closes his eyes in contempt and tells the guy to just get lost. Bay gets completely consumed by rage and tells him to come down and fight him right now. Our main character turns to the side and refuses the invitation, saying he's not in the mood at all. The blonde guy lets out a mocking laugh as if he can't believe Jaron's attitude. From there, he shouts for everyone to hear and asks if Class 2 is full of nothing but cowards. The other students on the leaves just watch the scene in silence without saying a word. With a wicked smile, Bay keeps taunting them, saying the whole class is being insulted. Suddenly, Wyatt can't take it anymore and yells at Bay to shut up and fight him instead. The blonde guy recognizes him and asks if he didn't learn his lesson after getting beat up so badly last time. Jaron Haynes then holds his friend back and tells him to just ignore that guy. With a smirk, he says he's just memorizing faces so he can send someone after them later. Tae is shocked by his audacity and asks if he's going to involve his family in a student squabble. Bae calls him a coward and says he's only doing this because he doesn't have enough skill to fight. With a smirk, our hero taunts him, telling him to call his family if he's so mad. The blonde guy panics, thinking his father would kill him if he got the family involved in the fight. The mere thought of getting a beating from his dad leaves the guy completely dizzy and unsure what to do. From a distance, Dean Theodore Hernandez and Professor Walter Port watch the whole commotion. Hanson Miller gets annoyed and says that Walter has crossed the line and that Bae's attitude is worse. Walter, however, just replies that a little healthy competition helps improve skills. Right after, he changes the subject and asks the dean for 5 more gold leaves for Class 1. Hanson is furious with the request and says the number of leaves is limited and he can't give them up. The other professor replies that Class 1 is more talented and therefore deserves the best resources. Hanson accuses him of trying to send more students to St. Stella just to get a transfer. The dean breaks up the argument and proposes that the students below Hexastigma fight for the leaves. Walter agrees with the idea, thinking it's the best option considering the level of Class 2. Hanson, however, protests and reminds the dean that his class only has 2 students at the Hexastigma level. The dean tells him not to worry, because he'll give them more leaves next year if they lose. Hanson Miller nods and realizes the dean is favoring Class 1. With the decision made, Dean Theodore Hernandez sends them back to prepare for the duel. The light in the forest shines brightly as news of the duel spreads among the students. Back with his class, Hanson explains that they're going to have a duel with Class 1 for the leaves. The students complain that Class 1 already has 40 leaves and that the duel is unfair. One guy comments that they only have 2 hexastigmas and asks if they should just admit defeat. Hanson acknowledges the disadvantage and asks Wyatt and Ellie to get ready for the showdown.